Alright, hello. Hello, everybody. How's it going? It's good to have everybody here on this nice Thanksgiving. I'm just gonna kind of, like my sexy face in the camera. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. I'm just, setting up my chat log here. Ooh. I went the wrong way. I went the wrong way, you guys. Hold on. Oh, there it is. There's my chat log. Wait. Give it a hot second. It's coming up. Ooh, I see a King Gold. He says, "Yo, what's up?" Good to see you, King Gold. Glad to have you in here. Hope you're having a good Thanksgiving today, guys. My Thanksgiving, I had like a few different people who wanted to make plans with me today, and that was about like a few days ago to up to a week ago, and then everything fell through. So I'm spending Thanksgiving alone today. I made sure to contact my parents and my sister and all of my loved ones that to tell them Happy Thanksgiving and all that good stuff, because even though I can't be with them on Thanksgiving Day, I can still, appreciate them on this day, because they're all still family to me, even though I can't be with them. King Gold says, "First on here!" You first, buddy. You got it. Ratherwood says, "Oh, hi, y'all. Happy Turkey Day." Well, good to see you, Ratherwood. Thank you for coming in. And King Gold is saying hello to Wrath of Wood. So, I had a very, very specific subject that I wanted to talk about today. I kind of, there's a whole bunch of things involved with it that I wanted to talk about. But one main focal subject. Ratherwood is saying hello back to King Gold by saying, "What's shaking?" Glad to have you guys in here on this wonderful Thanksgiving Day, though, seriously. Kind of makes me feel like that I can still enjoy Thanksgiving for what it is with people that, I hang out with and get along with, and that's really cool. So, also, I gotta say, I'm really excited. I hit 120 subscribers last night, and I know that, to many larger YouTubers, that probably doesn't seem like much, but that's really cool. Like, I don't know why, but it just felt like kind of like a miniature milestone, and that makes me really happy. But I yesterday chose to have a very interesting artistic experience, and it had been kind of something that I was building up to across the last few days. I think I was kind of talking about it in I think it was like my Minecraft stream, where I said I was making a bunch of different life choices recently, and kind of trying to change my environment around me because I needed some change in my life. And so I started doing a bunch of different things, and one of those things was I decided to be a lot more serious about art, like understanding art, reviewing art, creating art. I've been going backwards and trying to teach myself things that I didn't have a correct understanding in within art. I'm going back and relearning fundamentals, simply just because, I knew a lot of the fundamentals, but I didn't really have a good, solid grasp on them. So I'm basically going backwards and teaching myself the fundamentals over again. And there is a good amount that I kind of already knew from the past, quite some time ago. But there's also some things that I had either gotten really lazy with, or that I legitimately didn't know until I did some much deeper research on it. So I've basically been, in my off time, trying to sit down and really teach myself those core fundamentals. The things like just simply like understanding shapes, being able to discern shapes in everyday life and translating that into artwork. I'm, trying to get a better grasp on shading, which I always had a pretty decent grasp on it, but I'm kind of learning that there's a lot more depth to understanding shading than what I did before. So I've been reteaching myself those kinds of things, and understanding also human figures and shapes and things like that is something that I definitely don't have a very good grasp on, and that is something that I've been trying to relearn and teach myself. So let me see what the chat says a little bit. Rathawood says, "Oh boy, you were just at 100. Very nice job." Why, thank you, Rathawood. King Gold is saying, "Congrats on 120. I wish I had that." Well, thank you, man. I like to think that I really work hard and earn my subs. And I mean, you know, I'm not an overnight sensation, but I feel like that I'm slowly growing kind of a core audience that genuinely appreciates my work. You know, like I'm not... Like, it's kind of like, I feel like there's a lot of patterns where it's just a flash sensation, you know, where, like, there's one really great video and it just draws in a ton of people, and I haven't quite done that yet, but, and that's fine, but I have been kind of getting a trickle-in audience, and people are kind of sticking around and really enjoying what I do, so that's a pretty good feeling. Ratherwood says, Habs was saying you were just stuck in an artistic vortex black hole for, like, 4 hours? Was saying you were stuck in an artistic vortex black hole for like 4 hours. I can't tell if you're referring to just like me not doing as much artwork or being way too dedicated to artwork, or if you're talking about the main subject that I'm about to get to. So I'm not sure yet what you mean by that, Ratherwood. Ratherwood says, I've been working on figure drawing faces for like a year. It's amazing how long I've been drawing, but only recently started learning more. Yeah, it's... Like, I definitely need to... I'm planning on getting myself a little artistic wood model. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen those, but they're like... they're basically miniature mannequins about yay big. And, you know, like, from this palm to this palm approximately. And they're just little figures that you can bend in different poses. And I'm thinking that I want to acquire one of those simply just to learn... expressions and things like that. Like, I want to get deeper into that. Hey, Fuke! Happy Turkey Day, my friend. Good to see you in here. Fuke says, hello, goodbye. No, have not made it to post office yet. Don't worry about it, Fuke. It's fine. It's totally okay. I'm never going to bother you about it, so you're totally good. You get it to me when you can get it to me. If there's a situation that, whatever it may be, that you can't get it to me, then that's okay, too. So don't even worry about it. But anything you send me, I genuinely appreciate, so thank you. Wrath of Woods says the back pain dolls. Possibly. I'm not sure if that's what they're called, but yeah, I guess they're like little wooden, you know, wire models, I guess. King Gold says for 150 Sips celebration, you should make a 2-hour live stream of something. Well, I used to do 2-hour live streams, but I started kind of learning that my 2-hour live streams don't, like, they don't get as much traffic, and I think it's just simply because it's harder for people to stick around for 2 hours. There's, like, usually 1 hour does great. People seem to respond much better to my 1 hour streams and videos, but the 2-hour ones are usually pushing it. And mind you, like, King Gold, if you go back into my past videos, dude... I used to do videos that were like 4 to 5 hours long, bro. I used to be a psychopath. Like I used to do 4 and 5 hour live streams. Like, this is totally fine. Like, people will sit there and watch my stuff for like 4 or 5 hours. This is reasonable. And, you know, I had to learn that no, it's not the way to do it. Fuchs says Canada Turkey Day was in October. Yeah, I hear that a lot. I find that pretty interesting. I find it so surprising that Canadians celebrate Thanksgiving and Halloween, like, all in the same month. That's crazy. That's got to be a packed celebration month. King Gold says I meant subs. Oh, I know what you meant. It's all good. 150. Yeah, I almost wanted to read that as 150 simps. Hell yeah, man. Get me 150 simps. I'm down for that. I would love some people to be slobbering all over me and throwing money at me in every direction. That would be amazing. Ratherwood says those posable dolls were used in a back pain ad long ago. They pulled pins out of them and they recovered from back pain. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. My father and my stepmother are in the chat, and they're both saying Happy Thanksgiving. Glad to have you guys in here. Thank you so much. I did have plans today. I'm directing this at my parents. I did have plans today to meet up with a few different people. I had the possibility of hanging out with one friend who wanted to have Thanksgiving with me. I had the possibility of another friend who wanted to have Thanksgiving with me because their family had canceled on them. And I thought for sure that they were going to come over, but they said that they were feeling really sick. And they've been working a lot of hours and they needed like a day off, and this was the one day off that they needed to recover. So I was like, you know what, it's fine, dude. Like, you have a great Thanksgiving all on your own, and it's all good, man. Like, you recover. You do what you need to do. And I had a couple of other people who offered to let me spend Thanksgiving with them. But I was just not feeling it. The other people who I was wanting to really spend Thanksgiving with were very close friends of mine. Like, very close. The other couple of people, like, I'm not super close with, so I wasn't really interested in particularly intruding on their family Thanksgiving. You know, if like I knew them a lot better, then definitely. But they're just mostly acquaintances, so I didn't want to kind of trample on their family get-together. Everybody's saying Happy Thanksgiving to each other. Wonderful. King Gold says that would be gross to have 150 sips. You're actually making me thirsty. I have some water right here. I've been pretty dehydrated today. I think I need to drink more water. Ice cold still. No germies for you, says my stepmother. Yes, thank you. Anita! No germies for you, Anita! So, I really want to talk about this experience that I had yesterday, because, while I was, having this artistic experience yesterday, I knew that I wanted to do a stream and talk about this. So you guys might notice that I have this, this YouTube page in the background. It's VVM Test. Now, from what I remember, so like you guys can probably see on this VVM Test channel, that there is one video here that I have watched. And if you guys can't read that time down there, it says 6 hours, 30 minutes, 32 seconds. So, like, this is a almost 7-hour experience, and I basically spent my entire day yesterday watching this almost 7-hour video. So, to kind of further explain what this is all about, I found out about this video right here, this 6-hour, 30-minute video. I found this video the other day when I started, basically, I kind of explained to you guys that I'm trying to get more into art. I'm trying to, you know, refine my ability to do art, but part of that too is also learning and observing art. So, like, understanding different kinds of artists, understanding different kinds of techniques, and part of that too is also, a major part of that is also simply looking at artwork and understanding not only what is, like, presented in the artwork itself and, like, how you can learn from that as an artist, but also viewing it simply as a spectator experiencing something. Like, the idea of, like, there's a classic saying which is, like, art should make you feel something when you look at it or experience it or whatever. It should evoke feelings within you. And so I started watching a few different channels that talk about interesting kinds of art and things like that. And they were talking about, like, one particular set of videos that I was watching was talking about how a piece of art should be able to deeply evoke feelings within you, and it should be an experience that you can remember, that you feel at your core, and gives you a sense of, like, understanding, you know, like a deeper understanding of the human condition and things like that. And, you know, being able to experience an emotion or an idea without it being something that can be plainly written or explained to somebody through words. And they were talking about that concept through art, which is like, you know, sometimes there's something that you can't verbally explain, but you can experience it by immersing yourself in certain kinds of artwork. And it was funny because I watched a couple of different channels talk about this concept, and they were multiple different channels talking about this concept, and both of those channels had nothing to do with each other, and they were both presenting the concept in their own relative terms, but they were all talking about a lot of the same kinds of artwork, which really fascinated me. And after watching these different channels, they both basically directed me to this, which is on screen right now, the VVM Test YouTube channel. And apparently, so this particular channel is I guess it's kind of hard to explain. Apparently, from what I read about it, you'll notice I have a couple of other tabs here. There is the Caretaker, which is a very specific, he's a musician. And he basically does artwork through music. And the way that he does it is not through like it's not your stereotypical kind of music. He kind of tries to evoke feelings through sound. And the thing is that this particular musician worked with apparently this guy's named Leyland James Kirby, known as the Caretaker, and he did a musical composition, which is this piece right here, 6 hours 30 minutes, called Everywhere at the End of Time. And he did it alongside of an actual painter who he is apparently really close friends with. And they basically worked together on this project where he wrote this 6 hour 30 minute piece. And the idea is that there are different stages. So, like you'll notice here, I think you guys can see it, over here on the side where it says length, it says stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5, stage 6. And then each portion is dedicated a particular amount of time. The thing is, too, is that there are 6 total paintings for this piece. So each one painting is dedicated to one specific stage of sound. And basically the whole concept behind it is you listen to the music, and during each stage, for whatever amount of length of time it is, they present you a singular painting. Like, because there's a total of 6 paintings. And they present you a singular painting, and the idea is that you listen to the music and you study the painting while you're listening to the music. And the thing that was really fascinating to me was that there were times where I would just be listening to the music and not looking at the painting, which it was fine, because the music on its own would stand alone and evoke specific feelings within me. But there were also times, because what I was doing a lot yesterday was I was listening to this 6 hour, 30 minute long musical piece, and I was drawing. I was just drawing. I was practicing my fundamentals. I was sketching. And like while in the background of listening to the music, but every once in a while listening to this musical piece, I had to stop. I had to stop everything I was doing because I couldn't focus on my artwork because of what I was listening to. And I had to completely stop everything I was doing. And I had to bring up the painting for the portion of the piece I was listening to. And I had to stop and stare at the painting. Like, it was like as if like I was drawn to do that. I absolutely had to stop everything I was doing and focus only on the painting while listening to the music. And there were just certain parts where it's like, okay, like I can listen to this and do something else. But then there were times where it's like, no, I have to stop. I have to stop everything and I need to study this painting right now while I'm listening to this piece. And it was fascinating. It was an absolute, like, it was an absolute artistic experience. Like, I mean, I would almost say that it, in some degree, felt life-changing. But I don't know if I could compare every portion of it to being that. It was very evocative. And I really wanted to kind of talk about this and encourage people. Now, I know it's hard because this takes some real dedication. Guys, it's 6 hours, 30 minutes. Like, you don't just have time to do that. And it's especially tough when it's a situation where, like I said, like, there were moments in time where I had to stop whatever I was doing and look at the paintings to understand it and study it. And I know that sometimes that can be tough because, like, you know, a lot of people might be listening to, like, for example, like what I'm doing as, like, a podcast. And they would prefer to just kind of, like, be doing something in the back, like, be doing something and listening to whatever they're listening to in the background. And yes, you can do that with this, but there are times where you have to stop and pay attention. It's very, at times, it's extremely engrossing. Let me kind of catch up on the chat. I fell behind a little bit. Anita says, you had a Bob Ross moment. It's quite possible. I probably did. Rathwood is advertising for everybody to hit the subscription, subscribe, hit the notification bell, comment, like, all the good stuff, please. I love you. I love you all. Please do it. King Gold is yelling at people to do it now! I love you guys. You guys are great. Rathwood says, I've heard that too. Anything that makes you feel things is art. Same with music. Absolutely. And that was a thing that I thought was a really big deal, is how they kind of conjoined that idea where, yes, you can listen to the music and feel something, and yes, you can look at the paintings and feel something. But when you have them together, it is a very specific type of experience. And it really does feel like that, yes, you can enjoy each one individually on their own, but both the paintings and the music contribute to one another. Like, there are times in the music where I felt the need to pay attention to the paintings, and there were very specific points where I was studying the paintings and I would realize that the music provides context to what I'm looking at in each of the paintings. Now, you guys might be noticing that I have these images here on these videos, these thumbnails. These are all of the paintings, and I actually wanted to kind of go over them with you. Now, I'm not going to be playing any of the music. I can't really do that. I'm afraid of getting a copyright strike. But I would like to actually kind of share the paintings with you guys and kind of talk about them, because they genuinely fascinated me. And I did end up having favorites over others. There were some that evoked more feeling from me than others did. Let me just kind of catch up just a little bit more. Hey, Mr. Ashed! What's up, brother? I didn't say hi to you. Good to see you, buddy. Glad to have you in here. Mr. Ashed says, no fair, live on a holiday. I nearly missed it. Well, I'm glad you're here, buddy. Thank you so much. And I know I didn't say hi to my sister yet, but I did notice she's here, and I'm sorry I didn't say hi earlier. So hi, sissy. Good to see you. Smeeboo is my wonderful, lovely sister who is very supportive and very awesome. And people are saying hi to each other. Very awesome. Ratherwood says, this sounds cool. I'm getting art hype. You guys should definitely check this out. It's a dedicated kind of thing, but it's very worth it. It's very worth it. I'm legitimately glad that I set aside approximately around 7 hours to go through this whole thing, because it definitely felt worth my time. My sister, Smeeboo, says, YouTube is being garbage for me. Yeah, YouTube's been kind of funkalicious recently within the last few weeks. Bo, what's up, Bo Falcon? Sexy Bo Falcon boy. I was actually going to give you and Lettuce a special shout out today. In fact, you know what? I'll do it right now. I was planning to do it at the end of the stream, but I'll do it right now. So I just wanted to give a special shout out and thanks and appreciation for Mr. Bo Falcon and also Mr. Lettuce, who is not in here right now. But the reason why is because the two of them have been basically my two Patreon members, and I felt like that I have not given my Patreon a proper shout out and the proper respect that it deserves. And so I just wanted to kind of, like, I legitimately wanted to dedicate this particular episode of The Lounge to my wonderful Patreon members who have been so wonderful to me and constantly supporting me, which is, it may only be 2 people, but I love both of them very dearly, and they help me out, and everything is greatly appreciated, and they don't have to donate, but they choose to, and I'm very appreciative of that, and that really, you know, it's kind of nice to know that there are people who want to financially support all of the cool things I do on here, and that's a really good feeling. So once again, special shout out to both Bo Falcon and Lettuce. Thank you guys so much for being a part of my Patreon and sharing your hard-earned cash with me and showing me that that what I do here is in fact worth your time and money. So thank you two so much. I greatly appreciate that. So let me kind of move on here, but I'm glad to have you guys in here. It's wonderful. Bo Falcon did said, looks like the whole family is here. Nice, happy Gobble Day. My sister says, can't be together in person, so this works. Oh, well, thank you so much for being here, sis. I love you. Glad to have you here. Mr. Shed says, when people told me my music is good, you should start a band, I would get disappointed. I wanted them to feel something, not just to say it was good. Well, I mean, sometimes you have to also understand that, like, people sometimes don't know how to express their feelings that they feel through any one specific art medium. And sometimes the only description that you can really give when you don't understand how to express those feelings is, that was really good, you know? And, like, there's definitely music and artwork where it's like, it evokes a feeling in me, but I don't know how to express that feeling, and I'm like, wow, like, that was really good music, you know? Like, genuinely, that was really good. And that's sometimes the best way that people like that can express that information to others. So I wouldn't, you know, like, take it too close to the heart, because maybe they really did mean something by it, Mr. Shed. They might have meant that, you know, it was something that they really felt, and they just didn't know how to properly express it. Ratherwood says, hey, Bo Falcon, good thing you're not a Bo Turkey this time of year. Haha, Bo Turkey. That's funny. I like it. Silly Ratherwood. Ratherwood says, Sir Falcon and Sir Lettuce are pretty cool. Absolutely. And my father, Lazarus, says had to restart the YouTube because it wouldn't resolve the video. Moody. Yeah, YouTube's been, like I said, pretty funkalicious lately. And Bo Falcon says, thank you, and we all appreciate you as well. Well, thank you so much, Bo Falcon. I really appreciate that. You're an awesome friend, like, legitimately. Like, I like to think of you guys as good friends of mine at this point. You guys, like, you know, you guys make an effort to come out here and hang out with me, and that's a very awesome friend thing to do, and I super appreciate that. So thank you. Like, legitimately, I you know, sometimes, like, it may sound weird, but, like, sometimes I feel like I'm closer to the people that interact on my channel than people I meet on a regular basis in real life. So I don't know if that's sad or weird, but that's just legitimately how I feel sometimes. So, but anyways, so I want to bring up these paintings, and I want to really talk about them, and I'm going to present them to you guys in the order in which they were presented in the overall piece. So let me go ahead and bring this up, and we'll switch over the capture here, and you guys can take a look. I have the first painting up right away. So it's just going to take a hot second here. Give me just... Whoop, I forgot about that. Give me just a hot moment. And there's the first piece. All right. All right, so this is the very first painting in this series. My sister, Smeeboo, says, yeah, YouTube keeps graying out the video to show me the pause button. It won't go away. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me see if it looks okay on my end, because I'm also on a spectator side over here. So if it looks... Yeah, I don't see any problems with my side of the spectator view over here. But it will not surprise me if it is that way for other people, because sometimes, like I said, I've been noticing that there's been a lot of changes with YouTube and how they're doing things, with their algorithm, as well as with, the streams and things like that. Like, I've heard a lot of, things going on with streamers on YouTube, so that could be affecting some of you guys, and I'm sorry about that. Alright, well, yeah, reloading might help. So, I really want to talk about these pieces. So, this is the first piece, and here's the thing to understand is that, from what I remember, every single one of these paintings is untitled. And the only the only form of title that they have beyond being untitled is because they are part of this 6-piece series of music. Each one painting is basically dedicated to each one stage of the music. And this is what can only be described as Stage 1. That's it. That's basically the main title you can give to this painting. Now, I think one thing that I didn't talk about that is extremely, extremely important to understand the context of both the painting and the music. And I feel ridiculous for having left this out earlier. So, the paintings and music, this whole 6-hour, 30-minute piece with these paintings, is basically the artist, the two artists who collaborated together, the painter and the musician. They wanted to create an experience that is more or less a simulated experience of what it is like for a person to live through dementia. Okay? So, and the thing is that, like, right away, one of the things that I can say is I've worked in a couple of assisted living facilities, and I have had to work with patients who have dementia. And I have seen, the elderly kind of have to live with that. And it's very, just to see it happening to them is very sad. It's a very sad experience to watch, these elderly people live through dementia. And I was deeply fascinated, beside the fact that I was recommended to watch the videos and the pieces, that it would be a simulation of dementia. I was also, besides the fact that it was just an art piece that was considered great and fantastic and an amazing experience, I was also curious about it simply because working with those elderly people who have lived through dementia, or were, I should say, living through dementia, I was really curious to understand what a simulation of that experience would be like. And so the thing is to understand is that this music piece alongside of these paintings is very tragic. It's very sad. And it hit me a couple of times while listening to it. I'm not gonna lie about it. There was a portion that I listened to that made me sob. Like, I'm very serious about it. There was a very specific section of the music that made me cry like a baby. It was very sad to listen to. And it's actually, what I was really surprised about was that it was not the section of the music that supposedly most people cry at. Apparently, from what I found out after doing research, mind you, I had done the research after I had done the whole 7-hour experience. Most people usually apparently cry at the very end of the experience. Supposedly, the last 30 minutes building up to the very last 5 minutes of the 7-hour piece is considered to be the saddest and most tragic portion of the entire 8-hour experience. 7 hours experience, sorry. 6 hours, 30 minutes, 7-hour experience. And that definitely hit me very hard. However, that was not the portion that made me cry like a baby. There was a portion in the music where it transferred. It was the ending section of Stage 1 and then the opening section of stage 2. And listening to the ending of stage 1 and then shifting it into stage 2 made me cry. I felt something deep in my heart. Like deep, like way, way down. It was like, I didn't know, it felt like an experience of complete and total loss. And like, the thing is that like the experience in stage 1 was, it evoked the feeling that you were a person fighting your dementia. Like you were actively, like you were doing things to actively fight the dementia. And then the ending piece of stage 1 was like the last major fight that made you feel like that you were experiencing the last good thing before you slipped into dementia taking over. And then shifting into stage 2, the first portion of stage 2, was like, I have ended my experience with the last great moments I will live of my life, and now I am shifting into the terror and understanding that dementia is setting in and taking over. And it made me cry. It made me cry so hard. I was sketching, and I had to stop sketching and throw my notebook aside, and I just sat there and cried. Like it was an unbelievable experience, and it was all done through the feelings of like that were passed through the music, and also just staring at the barren paintings, like the paintings that like this one right in front. This is stage 1, so I mean the ending of stage 1, you're looking at this painting while you're listening to it. What's the music, instrumental or with lyrics? So Anita, this I would right away say it's instrumental. There are basically no lyrics in the whole piece, but you need... Here's the thing, guys, okay? This is not music you listen to for... It's not... This isn't, like, you're not experiencing something coherent. Like, I must warn you guys about that if you choose to listen to this 7-hour piece. This is not something you listen to as, like, I'm gonna, like, listen to my music now and, like, do my thing. Like, this is a, like, just, it's literally, like, experiencing, because, like, the idea is that they're trying to present to you in music and sounds the lack of coherency that a person would experience while living through dementia. And so it's not like, it's hard to explain. Like, I mean, it's very abstract, it's very strange, and one of the most important things is that it's extremely off-putting. There are genuine moments in time where you're listening to the music, and a piece can be within, like, you know, like, especially it happened a lot in stage 4 and stage 5, where you were listening to something for 30 minutes to an hour that is just absolutely uncomfortable. You're just listening to it and you are, to your core, disturbed and uncomfortable. But that's the point of it. That is legitimately the point of why you were listening to it. So, anyways, you guys might be... I'm sorry I've been talking so much about the music, but I haven't been focusing on these paintings. So, because of what the focal point of the music is, which is dementia, and the growing madness, and the detachment from reality, and the experience of not being able to comprehend your experiences and your memories and, you know, the things that are happening right in front of you. It's a big disassociative mess where at any one particular given time, you are trying to understand something that is purposefully not able to be understood. So, like for example, something that the music does a lot is the music will start to play an instrument out of nowhere, and there will be times where when you start to hear that instrument, it's just barely definable as to what it is. And you start listening very carefully, and you're like, okay, I can almost understand what that instrument is. And then it gets just a little bit louder, and right when you think you know what it is, it's gone. And the sound stops. And that is evoking the level of confusion in understanding that information. It's basically like the idea of, like, that's the concept of what dementia should be, which is that, or what it is, which is you're grasping on to something that you can almost understand, but then right as you think you can almost understand it, it's gone, and you can't go back to it. And the reason why I'm saying that is because these paintings, when I was reading about the conception behind these paintings, it's the same idea. These paintings are designed to be almost familiar. Like when you look at this painting right now, you can see that it has these definitive shapes and forms, and you can look at it and you could almost believe that it is something that could be realistic. It's something that you could believe might be something that is discernible in the real world. But the longer you look at it, and the longer you try to understand it and focus on it, you realize that there's no meaning behind it. And that's the purpose of it. Like, I mean, like, people would always say, well, like, a painting, is supposed to have meaning. It's supposed to evoke feeling. It's supposed to give you, an understanding of something. And one of the major beauty behind a lot of these paintings is that they trick you into a sense that you can understand it. And the longer that you look at it in hopes of understanding it, the more you realize that it is impossible for you to understand. But looking at the painting, it begs your mind to try desperately to grasp on to knowing what it is or understanding what it is. And that's what makes these paintings so fascinating, because it is challenging your brain. It's making you think. It makes you want to know. Like, there's a lot of things that I love about these paintings for different reasons, because they take you, you kind of like try to grasp onto the details. Like, for example, like when you look at this, you're like, okay, well, there's clearly a wall and a floor, but there's no corners, there's no edges. How do I know there's a floor and a wall? Well, why? Like, for example, you can define the floor because you have the light on the floor as one particular shade, and then it drifts up into the distance, and you can see that, like, one of the things that I always loved about this one is that when you're looking at it from the floor into the background, like the foreground into the background, you're realizing that it looks like it's just an infinite plane that goes off into the distance. But then confusion sets in, which says there should be a wall there because there's a shadow vertically down the object. So when you see that shadow on the vertical side of the object, that tells your brain and your understanding of logic, there's a wall there. But then when you look at the foreground and you realize that the foreground is bleeding into the background, which implies an infinite distance, that means that there is no relative understanding behind whether or not that object is placed, where that object's location is in the space of the painting. It's tricking your mind. It's forcing you to try to understand something that you can't possibly understand. You clearly have an object. You clearly have a space in which that object exists. But the dimensions of the object and the dimensions of the space contradict the reality that is presented in the painting. So, like, that vertical shadow along the side, how could that possibly exist, you know? Or, for example, let's go even further than that. Well, like, what is even the further depth behind the object? Like, is it, you know, is it a tube? Is it a newspaper? Is it a paper towel thing? Like, is that paper? Is it clay? Is it stone? Like, is it a rolled up thing, or is it a square object? Like, is it two rectangular objects, like, next to each other? Is it, in fact, a defined cylinder? Like, you can't possibly know. It's fascinating. Like, it's genuinely a fascinating piece, and it further evokes the overall concept of what the piece is trying to present to you. It evokes the idea of being visually in a state of dementia. Like, you can, like, people who have dementia begin having trouble understanding the logic behind visual things. You know, it's kind of like if you've ever seen the famous paintings of the artist who was, I believe he was slowly dying of dementia, and he painted self-portraits every, you know, set amount of time. And as dementia further set in, the paintings got more and more less defined, more and more abstract. And they even gave you the feeling of, you know, terror. Like, the idea that, you know, like, there's no escaping what dementia is doing to this person. It's like it got, like, as the paintings went on, they got more and more secluded, more isolated, less detailed, more wild and intimidating and even frightening. And I feel like these paintings do a great job in evoking that. I focused a lot on this one, and this one was one of my favorites. There were 3 paintings of this series that I consider my favorites. This was one of them. I would say this is probably number 2 of my favorites. This is my second favorite of the collection. So this is the next one. This one was my least favorite of the collection, but I still enjoyed it. So this is also further defining that concept of, like, being able to understand an object and its place in reality, but also having to try and understand the distortions and not quite having that ability to define the object in reality and make it something that can exist within you. Or not within you, but something that you can attach yourself to. Like, the whole concept of these is you have to understand the idea of a person trying to grasp onto something that logically makes sense to them in order to make themselves feel attached to the reality around them. So, like, it's like, you know, I can look at my plant, which is, you guys can't see, it's across the room from me. I can look at my plant and I'm like, well, you know, I'm a human being that lives on the earth, and there are plants and animals and things like that, and being able to see the plant and understand that it's a plant gives me a form of security within myself, because I'm able to logically define something that keeps me grounded to reality, you know? And these paintings challenge you in that mentality. They challenge you to try to understand them and finding the experience that you can't understand them to evoke those feelings within you. I'm going to kind of catch up a little bit. And you know what? Because today's Thanksgiving, and I've only barely scratched the surface on this stream, I'm going to make this a 2-hour stream. We're not going to end this after 1 hour. I'm going to do a 2-hour stream, guys. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. So I'm going to catch up on the chat a little bit. And Ratherwood says, it starts with this old-timey bops that turns into chaos jams. Oh, okay. So Ratherwood is either dabbling in it or reading about it, or he's actually taking the plunge and attempting to listen to it. So Anita says, okay, maybe not meditative. Yeah, if any of you guys are trying to look into the music, I should explain to you guys it's not a good time. There are moments of, like, relaxation but that relaxation is relative to the utter chaos and terror that you're experiencing while you're listening to it. So, my dad says, I'm meditating on non-meditativeness. There you go. Ratherwood says, VVM Test is the channel. I had to check it out. It's great. I mean, I only listened to that one piece, and I'll probably never go back again, but I think that it's something that people should experience. Like, really, like, that was the one thing. When I finished watching that 6 hour and 30-minute thing, I was excited to tell people about it. Because I'd never experienced anything like it before. It was legitimately, like, it was a life-changing artistic experience that I wanted to share with people. Anita says, hilarious, it's a visual of paper jam. There you go. Ratherwood says, this looks like a newspaper with no text, but it looks like it's made of stone. The background equals the foreground for sure. It's very confusing. And it's got 2 light sources, absolutely. These paintings are very evocative. Lazarus, my dad, says, that's what happens when you can't scroll anymore. Ba-doom-ts. Dragulair Gaming says, not meaning to be funny or anything, but I dubbed this talk 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea because this is one heck of a deep dive. It's fascinating stuff. Like, I love this. Like, I love art, you guys. I really do. I have tons of art photos from when I got to visit the museums in Boston when I was visiting my sister. And I love art. I love complex art. I love, weird art. I love normal art, like formulaic art. Like, I just love it, and I love talking about it. Let's see, but can you get back to the surface from that deep dive? Yeah, there you go. Ratherwood says, this one is number 2 for sure. The flower vase, yeah. The vase is more interesting than the flowers. Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing is about this painting is the reason why it's my least favorite is because it feels more definable than it should be. But that's just me. Like, for example, the first thing that all of you guys said right away was, it's a vase, it's a vase, it's a vase. And it's like, yeah, it is. And, like, you can tell that they added all these details that purposely are supposed to obscure your understanding of the idea that it's a vase. But no matter what way you look at it or how you look at it, it's clearly a vase, And that's probably my least favorite thing about it. Like, I would actually say that this, out of all the paintings, was my least favorite one, simply because there's too much definition in it to place it, in the rest of the spectrum of these paintings. Like, for example, like, you can definitely tell that the first one was very much a challenge for your brain. There were a lot of things in the first painting that challenge your brain, and it begs you to define what's happening in it, and no matter what you do and how you look at it, you can't define it. In this one, it loses that idea. And I mean, I can only assume that maybe it's simply that, like, they wanted maybe something that contrasted the first painting. Maybe it was that they wanted something that was more definable. Maybe it was that they wanted a reprieve from the rest of the paintings, which are much, much more challenging for your brain. But this one was my least favorite simply because it was so easy for me to define, and it was so easy for me to understand. And the thing is, too, is that in my personal opinion, this painting felt like it was the one painting that didn't line up with the music. And that was simply because this is the stage 2 painting with the stage 2 music. And stage 2 was all about the beginning descent into madness. It was the slow realization that dementia is fully beginning to grasp around you. And that was terrifying. Like I said, like, the part that made me cry when listening to the music was the ending of stage 1 and the beginning of stage 2. And that was a major transition in the music. It was a huge deal because it was, like I said, the stage 1 series of music was all about still being able to grasp the memories and being able to understand the reality around you. And then shifting from the end of stage 1 into the beginning of stage 2, was where the madness has officially grasped you, and you're starting to realize that you're losing control. And that's why I was not a fan of this painting, is because this painting didn't evoke that feeling in me. It didn't evoke, like, the music evoked more power and feeling into me than this particular painting did. And I just felt like, personally, like, and I mean, art is all subjective and anybody can understand it in any way that they want, but for me personally, it didn't stand with the music in the way that I thought it was meant to be. Now, that's just subjective, that's just opinion, but like I said, this one was my least favorite because it was so much easier to define. And I felt like that part of it was like the flowers themselves. I didn't like that the flowers were so properly defined. I didn't like the fact that I can clearly tell that it's a vase. I didn't like the fact that, you know, the figures, because there are figures on here, you guys. I don't know if you guys can... Oh, my bad. Let's see. I think there's a... There we go. I can kind of click in a little bit. Oh, okay. So this is a little bit better. There are clearly figures here, and I can properly define them. Like, I mean, yes, their faces are muddled, their limbs are funkalicious, the clothing they wear is a little weird, the details are a little off, but it's all very definable, you know, and that's what I didn't like about it. And I mean, like I said, for all I could possibly know, maybe that was intentional, you know, maybe that was legitimately intended by the artist. But it just wasn't the kind of thing that I wanted to see in these particular paintings. Let's see. Dragon's Lair says, the mental aspect of trying to grasp the concept, I probably could. Emotionally, if I tried to experience it, probably not so much. That's reasonable, Dragon's Lair Gaming. They wanted to kind of grip you in a multitude of different ways with this particular art project, and I felt that when I listened to it and looked at these paintings. King Gold says, I will be back soon. Bye. No problem, King Gold. You have a great night if you can't come back. Rather Wood says, it's too blurry. Kids hanging around a tree trunk base. Sorry. Let me kind of zoom in a little bit. I think there's probably a way that I can kind of zoom in a smidge bit here, but I don't want to get too lost in the details. Another thing that I didn't like about this particular painting was I felt that the shading was kind of boring. It's good that they defined the shading down here on the foreground, but there's no context to it on the upper parts. And I mean, once again, that could have been something that was intentional, I don't know. They didn't really... I mean, I guess maybe it's probably that it just kind of fades into the background. But I would have preferred if there was a little bit more shading to kind of define it in the space that it's in a bit better. But, you know, it's just not exactly my favorite painting. I think the next painting is actually the one that ended up being my favorite. Let me see here. Yes, okay. This one, guys, this is my favorite painting out of all of them. It's funny because, so, this is stage 3. And when the music shifted into stage 3 and this painting showed up, I didn't like it at first. I actually thought it was the worst of the paintings when it first came up. And mind you, though, the thing is that when you're listening to this music, every piece, every stage, has at the very least, an hour dedicated to it. So, like, it kind of forces you to study the paintings more and more and more for longer periods of time. And so when I first saw this painting, I hated it. I thought it was the worst one. But as the music continued playing, and I studied it more and more, like over probably an hour, maybe an hour and a half of studying this one painting, I fell in love with this painting. I think that out of all of the paintings, this one is the best painting out of all of them. And there's so many reasons why I love this painting. Because, like, obviously I splashed it right in front of you. It's in your face. And the first thing that you notice is that it probably looks like a goddamn mess. But I promise you that when you look at this painting and you go from the bottom to the top, and then from the top to the bottom, and then you go corner to corner and edge to edge, you are going to find so much in this one painting. There is so many fascinating things and details that are happening in this one painting. It is the best painting. It is my favorite. So the thing that made me, so there were a lot of things that kind of made me love this painting, but the thing that absolutely made me adore this painting, there's one specific thing that this painting does that none of the other paintings do that I absolutely adore, and that is going from the bottom of the painting, like the lower portion of the painting, understanding what that is supposed to be, and then slowly moving your way up to the top of the painting. And the reason why that made me love this painting so much is because this painting makes you lose the understanding between the three-dimensional and the two-dimensional. And then while you're exploring the two-dimensional area of the painting, there are portions that seem more three-dimensional than others. So, like, when you start at the bottom of this painting, it defines itself as an object. So, like, when you are looking at this painting, you can define an object at the very bottom, and you can begin to see the shading, the structure, the growth of that object. But then, after a certain portion of exploring that, everything fades out into what seems to be a two-dimensional space. So there's like a dividing line between what is three-dimensional and what is two-dimensional. And the painting constantly challenges you to understand that. And it's fascinating. It's my favorite thing about this painting. So, sorry, I'm kind of accidentally going back and forth here. So I'm going to kind of zoom in a little bit on some of this, because this is my favorite piece, and I feel like that I could probably talk about this piece for such a long time. So let me kind of zoom in just a little bit more. So this portion, I would say from this bottom portion down here, these corners, up to about right here in this particular portion of the painting is where things get wild and it challenges you. So, like, you see down here that you have a definitive object, and the way that you can define that there is an object there is because you have the shading, and you have the foreground, and you have the walls. And there's also shading that bleeds up from the bottom of the object into the walls. It's only just barely there, but you can clearly see it. And then, when you go out into the various different limbs out here on the sides and the corners, you can clearly see that they have a definitive object shape. You have the shadings that define the light, the darkness. It's giving the object a sense of existence. It's giving you the edges, the shading, the lighting perspective. It's giving it all to you. And you're trying to understand, like, what these objects are, but they're not quite definitive. The only thing you can understand is that it is, in fact, a three-dimensional object in this space. Which is, it's fascinating, because you want to understand it. You really do. And you can look over these for hours and see different things. And, like, every time you think that you might be able to understand what any individual object is down here on the bottom, it's just barely out of your grasp of understanding it, which is amazing. And then, like, I would say the dividing line is about right here, where objects stop being objects. This is about it right here. And then you start moving up into the top part of the painting, and you can still see some three-dimensional space. A lot of it is based on the lighting. Like, you can kind of almost define this spot right here as a three-dimensional object. There's some portions over here that look like three-dimensional objects, but a lot of it just kind of drifts into this strange, obscure, two-dimensional space. And it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And then, like, what happened was I was so like, once I had shifted from the bottom portion here of three-dimensional objects and then moved into the top portion, I started studying this particular area so deeply and carefully, and it fascinated me, all of the different things that I saw. So, like, for example, do you guys know what I see, like, whenever I look at this top portion? Roses. Do you guys see the roses in the painting. They're everywhere. There's a rose here. There's a rose over here. There's a rose. There's another rose right there. There's a little tiny rose right there. There's another rose right there. Do you guys see the roses? Right? And then there's all the meshing of the leaves. Like, I kind of almost see these leaves, which are somewhat defined as three-dimensional objects, but that's specifically based on the lighting, you know? So I was studying the painting very deeply, and I was fascinated when I started seeing all the leaves and roses. But then there was something else I noticed. I started noticing that, well, wait a minute. When you come back down here to the bottom, this is the background, right? This is the definitive wall. The wall is defined by this sky blue color, correct? So then when you come up here, you start asking yourself, well, wait a minute, where is the definitive wall? Like, are these roses in the foreground, or are they in the background? Are they in front of the wall, or are they behind the wall? Like, is the wall still there? Is it broken? And then I started noticing that the wall looks almost like shattered glass, or like a piece of paper that is being shredded and destroyed. And then I started thinking that what it kind of looks like is it looks like it's a rose bush that has broken through the wallpaper and the scenery. And I started thinking to myself, well then, you know, if this wall is something that is like glass or paper thin, and we're seeing these roses that are busting through this paper thin object, well then, wouldn't that mean that this bottom part was never actually an object? Wouldn't this instead be a hole inside of the wallpaper? Right? Because you start seeing the roots, you start seeing the leaves, the vines, and then you start noticing that they look kind of like cracks instead of like stems and objects. So you kind of like end up drifting back and forth from the top portion to the bottom portion, back to the top portion, back to the bottom portion. And each time you think you understand one side over the other, once you think you understand the top part, you go back to the bottom part, and the bottom part makes less sense. And then you study the bottom part, and then you think you understand it, and you move back up to the top part, and the top part is once again lost its definition. It's so amazing. Like, I love this painting. I legitimately think that out of the entire collection of paintings, this one is the best one. It evokes the curiosity in me. It makes me want to explore it constantly. I want to understand this painting, but no matter how much I try to understand it, and every time I think I might understand it, it loses its definition again. And I'm further confused by it, and I love it. Like, I absolutely love it. I adore this painting. I think this is legitimately the best painting of the entire collection. And like I said, this is all totally subjective. Like, I mean, I can totally understand. Like, I saw that my dad mentioned that it kind of looks like spinach and stuff like that. And it's like, I could see how people would see it that way, but I see a lot in this painting, and I legitimately feel that it is the best of the entire collection. I'm going to kind of zoom out a little bit here so you guys can study it a bit more and think about it, because this is my favorite one, and I would totally just leave this on for non-stop and stare at it and let you guys tell me what you think. But I'm gonna try to catch up a little bit, because I did fall behind. I'm sorry about that, guys. So let me kind of see where we're at here. Let's see, it's okay, so... Whoa, I fell behind a lot here. Hold on. Sorry, guys. So Ratherwood said about the previous painting, it's two blurry kids hanging around a tree. Here, you know what? I'm going to bring my chat log in front of my face. I have it right here, so it's like, it's in my lap. So hopefully you guys can still see me, and I can properly read this chat log while I got it on my lap here. It's on my little laptop that my father gave me. Okay, so let me see what I got here. So they're talking about the previous painting, which was the vase, which was my least favorite of the collection. God, it's so hard to navigate with this thing. Hold on, let me see if I can kind of... the one thing I hate about this laptop is that it's very hard to control. The mouse is very obnoxious. Let's see. So when you guys were talking about it, the vase, you guys were noticing it looked like two blurry figures on the bottom, and yeah, that's why I didn't like it. It was too easy to define, and I thought that kind of defeated the purpose of what it was supposed to be. Mr. Shed says, I can tell what it is, but not why it is. Like flowers from a stranger, they're dying. The vase isn't pretty, so why? That's fascinating, Mr. Shed. That is such a good and interesting way to look at it. Like, not trying to understand, like, the object and its purpose and, like, what is in it, but trying to understand why it exists in the way that it does. That gives a good perspective on that I didn't think about. Lazarus, my father, says, man on left dancing around the vase with a woman in a long dress on the right. They're celebrating while the flowers are aging. Yeah, there you go. Ratherwood says his painting is a B-side. Yeah, I agree. Drugslayer Gaming says, seeing the flowers decaying like the perceived mental situation and the people pulling away from the vase being distorted, like how your perspective is starting to alter. I can see that in part 2. Okay. Well, you guys have a pretty good interpretation on it on your own, and I really like that. I wasn't really thinking in that way. I was kind of like, I was so focused on, like, the reality behind the object and what it was that I didn't really think about, like, the overall engaging purpose of it, you know? So I think you guys might be seeing it a bit better than I do. My dad says, I think it's an analog of life in the face of death. Oh, okay. You guys would be so fun to go to, like, an art museum with. I've been to an art museum with my father, of course, but I mean just all you guys in general. Ratherwood says, but if this was a real vase, would you want it? Nah, no way, it's too ugly, but I think that's the point. Bruh, stage 3, yeah. Exploding spinach, says my father, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, stage 3, this painting in front of you guys, this is my favorite one. It's the one that just evoked the most emotion and feeling in me, and I loved it for that. Let's see, this vase just kicked in. I thought that too, so no joke. I remember the first time that when I was first listening to it and the painting swapped, I thought that they just replaced the stage 2 vase with a stage 3 vase. You know, like, it was really surprising to me when I first kind of experienced it. But when I was looking over it more and more, I kind of, like, thought the more I looked at it, the more it was definitively a different painting. Let's see. Lazarus, my father, says, I like the special blue spots in the spinach. Yeah, man. Like, I thought that they looked like roses. Like, I think it's beautiful. Dragonslayer Gaming says, I'm not going to leave the stream, but if you could be as kind as to let me know when this painting visual is done, I would appreciate it. Yeah, I'll let you know when I shift into the next one. I'm going to shift into the next painting as soon as I finish catching up on the chat log. Ratherwood says, I see a weird face on the middle left-hand side. Yeah, there are definitely some weird, I think I recall some of the paintings kind of having, like, weird faces almost mixed in. But a part of that, too, is, like, there's a couple paintings that really evoke it really well, where it's like you're trying to grasp on to anything that can be definitive within the painting, which includes anthropomorphizing the painting in the sense of seeing faces when there are no faces. Ratherwood also says, I feel like they threw a piece of molten glass into water and then painted it. Oh, that's kind of cool. Or Eldrazi got into their paints. Yeah, there you go. The Eldrazi horrors. Lazarus says, much more interesting was the vase. So you actually like the second painting a lot, huh? That's actually really interesting. I mean, I like it, but the only reason why it's not my favorite is because when I compared it to all the other paintings, it didn't evoke the same feelings in me as the other ones did. In fact, it was, like I said, it was my least favorite. I spent a lot of time defining it and not being mystified by it, you know? And being able to define it in the way that I was kind of broke me away from the atmosphere of the mystery behind the paintings and the music together. Roses are not all red. I do see them, says Bo Falcon. Yeah, that's the thing is, like, that's what I kept seeing the more I looked at it, was I felt like I was looking at roses. And then it got to a point of where I felt like that the roses were breaking through the background, which was absolutely fascinating to me. Rather the Woods says, I still think this is another vase on drugs. Nice. My stepmother Anita says, it makes me think of the glass art exhibit in Seattle. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was really fascinating. I do love stuff like that. It's like I said, guys, I love art. I love it. I really, really love art. It fascinates me. I love it. I can go into an art museum and just be there all day. Like, my parents know this. They've seen me do it. I mean, like, I love it. I love it. And the thing is, too, is that, like, one of my favorite memories about going to museums was, me and my parents, we would go through the exhibits, and we would all kind of stand there and kind of look at some of the paintings. And, people would, stare at them for a little bit and move on. And my parents doing the same. And this is not a commentary on my parents. It's nothing like that at all. But they would, move on to whatever they want to look at. And sometimes I would see a painting, and I would just stand there for, like, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, like, I even remember, like, my parents even saying to me, like, you stayed in one exhibit for, like, an hour, and I love doing stuff like that. I like to kind of just really absorb artwork and really kind of understand it and try to define it and things like that, and do my own, I love artwork that does that for me, and that's what I'm really into. I'm gonna move on into the next painting, guys. We're gonna talk about the next one. So, but like I said, stage 3, this painting, this is my favorite one, hands down. This is my number 1 favorite. Now, if I remember correctly, I think it's stage 4 is my second favorite. I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah. Okay. So this is stage 4. This is my second favorite painting. The first one that I showed, stage 1, is my third. So this is my second favorite painting of the collection. And this painting, I spent a lot of time of studying the painting of the man attacked by the shark. I remember that. That was a very evocative one. I remember being enraptured by the stylistic choices and the horror of the scene. Not only do I like horror movies and horror games, but I also love horror art. I just love horror, you guys. Okay, so let me talk about this one a little bit. So what's really interesting about this painting is that this painting gives me a sense of desolation, of isolation and loneliness and sadness and just very low emotional tones. And the thing is, too, is that, like, what really blew my mind about this painting was I had looked at it for quite some time, and for a long period of time, I want to say for about maybe a good, like, 20 or 30 minutes of, like, observing this painting, all I could originally see was this person. A person with either a weird hairstyle or a cowl or a hood of some sort. And it wasn't until after about 20 or 30 minutes of observing this painting that I finally noticed that there is a leg and a boot here. And that, when I realized that, like, it was so weird that it took me like 20 or 30 minutes to realize that this was a boot. Like, this was a boot and this is a leg. And that blew my mind. It really just absolutely surprised me, and I was fascinated by it. And the thing is that I loved about it was the sheer level of confusion and discontinuity that it provides. Like, have you guys ever seen, like, a film where, like, you're seeing the film based on the tape, like the actual like the film tape, and you're seeing it through the projector, And what happens is sometimes the film gets like off kilter from the frame, and you can see, like, for example, the bottom portion of the scene and the top portion of the scene right below it. And it's like, it's got that weird, it gives you that weird disassociative feeling where you feel like you're detached from like the reality of where the film wants you to be. And that's only just because of an accident. Like, it's literally just an accident that was, occurred because of faulty film equipment. And it's like, oh, like, there's the bottom half of the landscape on the top part, and the top part of the landscape on the bottom part. That's not supposed to be that way. And it feels really, like, it's like for that brief moment when you see that, it's very jarring, and it, like, it pulls you away from the reality that you're supposed to be drawn into for the film. And that's the feeling I get when I see this painting. It feels like that. It feels like I'm looking at a film that has accidentally gone off kilter from the equipment. And I'm seeing the bottom half and the top half simultaneously within the artwork. And it's so jarring and disassociative and confusing. And I love that. And it's sad. It's like as if, like, it's almost like as if the tones and the color of the artwork are supposed to evoke this feeling of disassociation and sadness. And it's further presented not only through the color and the lighting, but also from the direct subject material that you were looking at. Because you are clearly seeing that the bottom half and the top half are both merging into one another simultaneously, which means you cannot define one from the other. And there's a form of confused sadness with that. And it's beautiful. It's sometimes tragedy and sadness and even horror, can be a really beautiful thing, and this is one of those paintings that really gets that feeling from me. It really sets its tone with not only the subject, but also the color and lighting. And you can't help but feel this overall sense of confusion as you're desperately trying to understand whether you're intended to see the bottom portion or the top portion, or whether any one of those two portions is distinguishable from one another. Because, like I said, like, I looked at this for like 20 or 30 minutes, and I thought that I was looking at like a shoulder piece and hair. Like, it took me a long time to realize that I was also looking at a boot and a leg. And when you finally realize that, it just totally just rips you out of your sense of reality and understanding. And I love that about this painting. I love that. Like I said, this is my second favorite painting of the collection, which the previous one, Stage 3, was my favorite. Well, I'm gonna catch up just a little bit more and kind of pick your guys' brains about the artwork. Let's see, Lazarus said... Oh, I already read that, sorry. Speeboo says, looks like an interpretation of the Vermeer. I'm actually not sure what that is, but I would look... I'll look into that. I'll try and find out what that is. Ratherwood says, I've been to the art museum in New York with my mother and stepdad. It was good times. That's really cool. I love art museums, you guys. I am an art fanatic. I love it. And I mean, I will admit that I've lost touch with that over time. But these last few weeks, I've been refocusing myself to trying to be more artistic and like learn more from art and practice more art and study art and, learn from professional artists and learn about learn opinions from professional critics of art as well. And I really just want to kind of bring that back into my life, And this is kind of one of those, like, this particular stream is kind of me trying to do that with you guys, is that after I experienced this, I wanted to share it with people, and I wanted to kind of talk about it, because it really this whole experience, the 6-hour, 30-minute music with the paintings, it really deeply affected me. It deeply, deeply affected me, and I wanted to share that with you guys. Ratherwood says, "Oh my god, the boot! Now I see it. What else is in there?" Yeah, exactly. I'm dead serious, you guys. I looked at this painting for like 20 or 30 minutes before I saw that boot. Like, it blew my mind. Like, my mind, like, exploded when I saw that boot. I was so amazed by it. Lazarus, my father, says, "This is a woman in deep contemplation. She's wearing a head covering. You can see a portion of her neck, and below her shoulder, it's a profile." Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing, too, is that, like, that's clearly, like, what it should be defined as, but there's so much more to it. There's a lot going on in this painting. One of the things that really surprised me, too, that I still don't fully understand, and I don't even know if I can properly acknowledge it for what it is, but this little spot right here, like, is this supposed to be an eyeball? Is it a mouth? Maybe it's an ear? I don't know. But I remember when I was looking over this painting while listening to the music, this one spot right here, I really wanted to know what it was. And I still don't. Like, I still don't know what it's supposed to be. Like, I can't tell if it's supposed to be a shadow. I don't know if it's supposed to be... It looks like a mouth. It's slightly reminiscent to an off-kilter eye. Like, I don't really know what it is, but I'm fascinated by it. Like, and it's amazing because guys, it's a splotch of paint. You know? But, like, it's a splotch of paint that the artist wanted to make. This was intended. Like, this is part of what this painting is supposed to be, and the artist genuinely intended it for it to be there in that way. And it's like you want to understand it, but when you look at it more and more, you can't quite define what its purpose is on the painting. You know it has a purpose, but you don't know what that purpose is, even though it evokes a mystery and a feeling within you. Smeebu says, "It's a girl with a pearl earring." I don't quite see the pearl. Oh man, now I'm trying to see if I can actually see that, because I don't really see it. That's really interesting, though. And like I said, like, this does seem to be like it's like hair, maybe even like a decoration in her hair, but then it turns into a leg, and then it's defined as a boot, you know? It's very interesting. Anita, my stepmommy, says it's a symbol of being a doormat in life, getting stepped on. Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, you know, art can evoke different kinds of feelings in different people. And I mean, you know, it could give you that desolate feeling of, like, you know, being trampled on in life. And maybe in its own way, it's supposed to help you kind of, like, these paintings may even help you reflect on yourself and understand yourself better, you know? Let's see. Ratherwood says, "These kind of remind me of the Minecraft art stuff." Oh, I love the Minecraft artist, you guys. I love him. I want to, like, view more of his paintings. Maybe we'll do a stream like this where we'll go over the Minecraft artist and kind of talk about his paintings, because, oh my god, the Minecraft artist is amazing. He is such an amazing artist. I can't really think of any artist that sees things and then defines those things in paintings in the way that he does. It's so fascinating. I love it. Lazarus, my pappy, says, "Furthermore, she's literally in a blue mood. Wah, wah." Dragon's Lair Gaming says, "I can see the disconnect along with the sadness of not being able to see any connection." That's how I feel about it as well, Dragon's Lair Gaming. I love the tragedy of disassociation in this painting. It makes you feel lost. It makes you feel isolated. Like, it's disassociating, but through that tragedy and sadness, it's beautiful, you know? Rathawood says, "It's not really a person, it's a representation of a person." Well, there you go. Mr. Rathawood getting all artsy-fartsy on us over here. Lazarus, my poppy, says, "All art is a representation of something." I think the combo of contemplation and blue is significant. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that was probably the prominent choice and of where this painting was supposed to be was defined in its colors. Smeevu says, Google Vermeer girl with a pearl earring. Oh, okay. I will take a look at it probably later after this stream or something like that. Hey, Rebecca, what's up, girl? How you doing? Glad to have you in here, and happy Thanksgiving to you. Rebecca says, looks like a Roman soldier after a battle. That's interesting. Oh, like he's wearing a helmet, and like this is like the little hair thing that comes out of the helmet. That's an interesting look for that. I didn't even think of that. That's pretty cool. All right, guys, we're going to move on to the next painting. I believe the next one is Stage 5. This one I also wasn't a very big fan of, but it's still pretty good. So this is Stage 5. And okay, so to kind of, like, the thing is that I have a hard time not seeing this art alongside of the music. Because, like I said, like, you guys, you're going to have to, like, if you really want to get into this stuff, now, I'm not going to tell anybody that they need to do this, because it takes dedication. It's 6 hours and 30 minutes, you guys. But the music is so important to this artwork. So I definitely highly recommend, if you have the ability to do so, to go and listen to the music while you have a chance to look over this art. And the thing is that for this particular art piece, I have a very hard time not associating it with the music. So, like, when I say that, what I mean is that with the previous paintings, I was always able to kind of listen to the music and enjoy the music for what it was. And then I was able to look at the painting and enjoy the painting for what it was. And then I was also able to listen to the music and look at the painting and understand how both of them work together and how they relate to one another. So what's weird about this painting is that the music at this portion, because this is Stage 5, it's deep into it, you guys. When you get to this portion of the music is so jarring and off-putting that I would almost describe it as traumatic. So, like, why I say that is because when I see this painting, I immediately slip into a flashback of the absolutely terrifying music that played while looking at this painting. So, like, I can't see this painting without thinking about how terrifying the music was. Because this was, like, no joke. When they shifted from Stage 4 to Stage 5, it's abrupt. It slaps you in the face, and it catches you off guard, and it's genuinely terrifying. Like, it is... The Stage 5 was very hard for me to get through because it was so off-putting. It was, like, disturbing. And I can't look at this painting without thinking about that music. Whereas with the other ones, I could, you know, kind of disassociate them, but I could also put them together and be fine with that as well. This one, not so much. And the thing is that I don't like this painting as much simply because of the effect that the music had on me while viewing the painting. Dead serious. I would say that the one with the vase one is my least favorite, and this is my second least favorite. But the reason why this one isn't my number one least favorite is because it's my second... I don't like this painting because of the music. You know what I'm saying? It's literally that the music was so... And I mean, I'm still glad that I had that experience. You know, like, I don't hate the music that I had to listen to while viewing this painting. But this painting, me viewing this painting is deeply tied to an uncomfortable musical experience. And because I have that uncomfortable music experience alongside of this painting, I can't enjoy this painting. Like, I can't. I can't. But it's still a fascinating painting. It's just that every single part of it makes me uncomfortable, because I can think of all the time I spent staring at this painting while listening to that jarring music. You know, like that extremely uncomfortable music. And every single detail in this painting is tied to that incredibly uncomfortable, off-putting music. Like, it doesn't matter what part of the painting I look at, everything ties back to that uncomfortable music. So the thing is, too, that's really fascinating is that, like, when I view this painting, I'm immediately uncomfortable. I'm immediately put off by it. And I don't like looking at it. But the thing is that I would assume that you guys are not having that experience right now. Because you guys probably, like, I mean, I really, once again, do hope that you guys will go and listen to the music and look at all the paintings alongside of the music. But I assume that because a lot of you have never heard of this stuff that I'm talking about, I would assume that you guys probably don't have that experience and you don't know that feeling that I'm talking about because you didn't have the same experience. So you guys might be able to see this painting and say, oh, like, it's brightly colored. It's interesting. There's all these little, you know, bright colored details with light coming in from different angles and interesting shapes and, you know, all these abstract details that are interesting to look at, which is very cool that you guys are capable of having that experience without the context of the music. When I look at this, I'm uncomfortable. I don't like this painting. I really don't. But it's fascinating to me that all these paintings were intended to be looked at alongside of listening to the music, and because of that experience, I can't enjoy this painting because I'm so uncomfortable by it. Because it's literally, like I said, like putting the music together and the art together, it's literally a complete experience. Like it evokes very specific kind of emotions in you. And yes, you can look at the paintings by themselves, which is what we're doing here. And you can listen to the music by itself, which I'm sure somebody out there would do. But they're meant to be, like, the artists, both artists, the guy who did the paintings and the guy who did the music, work together in collaboration, and they defined that they are supposed to be, you know, experienced together. You know, that's the intention. And they did mention, both of them did mention that, like, you know, you can experience them singularly, but it's intended as a combined experience. But yeah, like I said, this painting is a very uncomfortable one for me, simply because the music was, by stage 5, you are in a very uncomfortable place. You're very, very uncomfortable, and it makes you very skittish, and, like, for example, I actually even remember during stage 5, when the music was playing, I was getting up and walking around and trying to find things to do. I was trying to draw. I was sorting my magic cards. I was doing art. I was sorting magic cards. I was looking at things on my phone. Like, you know, like I was, during the other stages 1 through 4, I was focused. Like, I mean, yeah, I was doing a few things on the side, like art and stuff, but the majority of the time I was focused. By stage 5, I didn't want to be here. Like, you know, like, I was on my phone, I was doing artwork, I was reading a little bit, I was you know, finding things to distract myself from the sheer discomfort that the whole experience was giving to me. And don't get me wrong, you guys, I'm still very glad that I went through this artistic experience, but wow, by this point, it was very, very uncomfortable to get through. Extremely uncomfortable to get through. So, the thing is like, I'm not really, like, other than explaining how uncomfortable the painting makes me and the experience that I had while visualizing this painting and listening to the music, I don't have anything else to really say about it. Ooh, excuse me, guys. Ooh, bleh. Bleh. I'm sorry, guys. That caught me by surprise. That was like a hiccup, burp, cough. Like, that was very uncomfortable. But it's... I mean, I remember contemplating that, like, there's like a cane and a hand and an arm. It looks like it's a lady in like a show dress descending a staircase somewhat, or possibly ascending, because I don't know if you guys can see it, but this looks like a lady's face to me right here, and then this right here looks like a show dress, right? And then down over here is an arm with a fist, and then this is like a cane of some sort. And then this is a leg, I would believe to be a leg, I think. And then after that, I'm lost. Like, you know, a staircase. I don't know what this is supposed to be. The projection of light and shadow in this piece is very off-putting. It's very hard to understand. You can clearly see the definitive area of where a light source is coming from. You can see the objects defined by their shade, but there is no foreground, and there is not really any background. It's just an endless void behind this object, which is very disconcerting, I guess. Like I said, like, it's really hard for me to kind of, like, pay attention to what's going on in the painting without having the flashbacks of the discomfort from the music. So, and what's really weird to me too is I find it interesting how this object is defined by what looks like a lip. Do you guys see what I'm saying here? This right here looks like there's a lip along this weird ellipsis object, and it could be a hole, like right between the dress and the lip here. Like, I always kind of imagine that this is like a hollow object, and then there's a mouth right here, and then this is the lip. Now, I don't know what the purpose of that would be. I mean, I guess this whole piece has no purpose, obviously, but it's just very like, there's some definition to it, but not enough to be comfortable with it as an object, if you understand what I mean by that. But like I said, like, this particular painting is, like, this is my second least favorite, but it's my second least favorite primarily because of the music and the emotional, like, the feelings that I had while viewing this piece. It's very interesting. So let me kind of catch up again. I'm sorry, I keep falling behind the chat log, and I am interested in what you guys say, because that's what this is all about. I really want to know what you guys are thinking about these art pieces. So I'm going to go backwards a little bit on the chat log, and I'm going to read what you guys are saying. Looks like I didn't get too lost. Rebecca says, Happy Thanksgiving. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving to you too, Rebecca. Lazarus, my father, says, woman in ball dress with a large fan balancing on a staircase, hesitant while going up, but looking back at what she's leaving behind. See, I'm impressed that you can apply that much definition to it, Dad. Like, I think that that's very interesting that you are capable of finding that much, what's the word that I'm looking for? You can find that much logic in this piece, you know? Like, I'm impressed by that. Like, because I can't, like, the whole thing that fascinates me about these pieces is that there is a level of logic to them, but trying to further understand the logic in each piece is what allows you to become lost within it. And that's, like, what it evokes in me personally, is the mystery and the confusion behind not being able to properly define anything proper. Like, yes, you can guess, like, yes, this is what it looks like, yes, I can see that there's probably a woman's face and a dress or a fan and a cane, but the thing is that that's not what it is, though. You know, like, you can see that and you can visualize it and you can understand how that might be what it is, but a lot of it is about the mystery of not being able to properly define that. And that also goes back to the whole theme of the dementia standpoint, which is people with dementia they grasp at an idea or a memory or an object, and it's like they look at that object and they can almost place it as something. Like, for example, like when we were looking at the first painting, like maybe it's a newspaper, but it's not quite a newspaper. Or maybe it's a roll of paper towels, but it's not quite a roll of paper towels. Or maybe it's like a scroll, right? But it's not really a scroll either, you know? And I think that that's what these paintings are all about, is like, maybe it's a lady in a dress descending a staircase or rising or ascending a staircase. But that's not quite what it is. Like, you can grasp onto details and try to define it as something like that, but there's so many things that are contrasting that idea that there's no proper definition of what it can actually be. And that's the whole concept behind the frustration of dementia, is being able to grab something like an object or look at something and not, like, you just barely think you understand it, but the more you try to understand it, the more you realize that it can't possibly make sense to you, because the details as a whole object or as a whole thing are not adding up, you know? And that's the horror of dementia. That's literally what it is. Rather Wood is saying turkey and pancakes, yay! Rebecca says, not sure why, but it makes me think of an Escher and Geiger at the same time. Oh, those are both very good artists. Rebecca's got some taste to her, huh? Mr. Ashed says, I'm going to go listen to Disco Volante again soon. I feel like that Mr. Bungle album is my more base analogy of your experience with this art. Well, there you go, man. Like, music is definitely an art form, and don't let anybody ever try to challenge you on that. Like, there's a lot of different kinds of things that can be evoked through the power of music, and in emotional and contextual and things like that. So I love music, and I definitely see it as a very interesting way of presenting art and feeling. Dragon's Art Gaming says, the recognizable chaos of the person standing there, yet the stability of what they are standing on is recognizable. Memories are all jumbled, yet once in a while a stable portion of your past comes in. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Dragon Slayer. Like, you can grasp onto the details, but no matter how hard you try, you can never properly define it. See, this one is giving me some anxiety somehow. Yes. Oh man, you guys, if you ever experience the whole musical composition, let me tell you, this is the portion of the music where I was very uncomfortable and very anxious. Mr. Ashed says, it's a brain as the motorcycle rider crushes it, grinding against pavement at speed. I love that, Mr. Shed. That's amazing. And I kind of can see that. Like, the fan is like a wheel, and, like, it's crushing the object that looks kind of like a brain. That's cool. Wow, that's awesome. I didn't even notice that until Mr. Shed said something. Anita says, someone trying to balance the unbalanceable. Ooh, very deep, very deep. Dragonslayer Gaming says, I had to switch tabs for Phase 3 and do something else while listening. Wow, Dragonslayer, are you actually, like, in the middle of it right now? That's crazy, man. It's, guys, like I said, I can't recommend, like, you guys should try to experience it. It's something else. Bo Falcon says, I apologize for not saying anything for a while. I was making pork tostadas for dinner. Hey, man, it's all good. It's all good, homie. You do what you gotta do. Bo Falcon says, I could only imagine if you were to listen to the music while intoxicated for this one. That would probably be a nightmare. Yeah. I'm not implying anything, but yeah. Ratha Wood says, this is some statue that was put in the microwave on popcorn setting. I love that. That's great. Bo Falcon says, remember, kids, don't do drugs. Yeah, probably. Rather Wood says, fast and bulbous. That's right, the mascara snake. That could be a book title. All right. Well, I'm gonna bring you guys into the final stage, and this painting is amazing. I think I wanted to say originally that this was like, I love this painting, but it didn't. Okay, I'm just gonna show it to you guys and we'll talk about it, because I actually really like this painting a lot. I didn't put it into my final ranking, but I love this painting. This is the, Oh, I see what you're saying, Dragon Slayer. You're saying you're not listening to the music that goes along with it, but visually you had to stop looking at Phase 3. Yeah, it's something else. Like, all these paintings really evoke strong emotions in me and from other people, from what I've noticed as well. Lazarus says, try listening to Bernstein's Symphony, The Age of Anxiety. Okay, man, that might be a possibility in the future. Ratherwood says, is this the one that made people cry? This is stage 6. This is the final stage, and yes, this is the one where people cry. Now, I will say this. Stage 6 didn't really make me cry. Now, I remember at one point, especially close to the very end, I remember my heart beating rapidly. I remember goosebumps. I remember my hair standing on all ends. And I remember being very, very anxious and uncomfortable at the very end. It's, for this one in particular, the last 30 minutes are very, it's something else. Like, Stage 5 was all about being extremely uncomfortable. That's what it was all about. It's very uncomfortable. It's very anxiety-driven. And, but Stage 6, I would describe, based on the music, Stage 6 is like this feeling of acceptance over what you've been forced to deal with. It's like Stage 5 is like the sheer uncomfortable horror of what you're forced to deal with and struggling with it at the maximum capability. You know, like, in other words, like, it's like Stage 5 is like you're losing and you're getting the crap kicked out of you by what you're being forced to deal with. And Stage 6 is like acceptance. It's like this is your fate and there's nothing you can do about it, and you've been subjected to so much terror and pain that it's normal and it's no longer a maddening force. So, like, the Stage 6 in the music was all about muted tones. It was all about white noise and things that, like, it was all about, like, sounds that you, like, so Stage 5 was the noise was, like, deafening. It was frightening. It was scary. It was constantly bombarding you. It was constantly uncomfortable. And you, like I said, it was terror. And then Stage 6 was like, you still hear that noise, but you're so used to it that it's not terrifying anymore. It's just, you've just learned to accept it. And you still can hear that noise, but it's been slowly, like, as Stage 6 continues on from Stage 5, it slowly comes down in volume. And you can still definitively hear it, but it's not bombarding you. It's not trying to be in your face. It's not trying to disturb you at a core level. It's become like, it's like you've accepted it. Like you understand what it is, and you're just having to deal with it. And because you've accepted it and because you're dealing with it, it's not prominent. You can still constantly hear it, but it's kind of like the difference between like when, you know, like when you hear a noise that annoys you, you know, like I guess one of the best ways that I can describe it is like, you know, when you have an alarm on your phone to wake you up in the morning, and when you first set your alarm, right? The first time you set up your alarm to wake you up in the morning, it's jarring, it's scary, it wakes you up out of your sleep right away. And like, you're like, oh good, okay, I'm up. Oh, thank God, all right, we're good. Oh man, you know? But like, after a while, like after getting in a routine with that alarm, it becomes less effective. Like you start getting used to hearing it. Like sometimes you'll hit the snooze button. Sometimes you even get to a point of where you sleep through your alarm, even though it's loud and jarring and it should wake you up. You've accustomed yourself to it. And it is now no longer something that is striking and disturbing. It's just something that's part of your everyday life, and you can cope with it. And that's what Stage 6 was all about. It was all about coping with the madness of what was presented to you in Stage 5. And it's desolate, and it's isolated, and it's sad. And the thing that also made Stage 6 so interesting is every once in a while, like, because you would always hear the noise. You'd always hear the noise. And it was like you couldn't really escape it. But every once in a while, you would hear a blip, like, of music. Just very rarely, you would hear some music. And Stage 1, like, here's the thing, guys. Stage 1 is all about music. Legitimately, like, go through Stage 1. It's all about music. And when you're in Stage 6 and you just hear that deafening noise, but you're used to it. You know, after passing through Stage 5, in Stage 6, you're used to it. It's just normal. But every once in a while, you would hear a clip of music. And you'd be like, oh, there it is. And then it's gone. And you're just like, wait. Oh, okay, it's just noise. And then you would keep hearing the noise, and you would keep hearing the desolate, like, sounds, and then you would hear the music again. You're like, wait, and then it's gone. And you're just like, wait, come back, please. But the thing is I also don't want to spoil the ending of this piece, because the ending of the whole thing, the last 30 minutes leading up into the last 5 minutes, is usually where people cry, and it's powerful. It's very, very powerful, and it's very, very sad. It's very, very sad. Now, like I said, it didn't make me cry. There was a part of the sound, there was a part of the music that did make me sob. I cried like a baby, but it wasn't the final ending of it. The ending didn't really make me cry. It made I will admit, I remember, because I was keeping track of it, made my heart race. It made me have goosebumps. It made my hair stand on end. And it was an experience, for sure. Like, I won't forget it. So, I only have a little bit of time left. I have 1 minute left. So, let me actually talk about the painting. I'll go a few minutes over just to kind of get this painting out of the way, but then we're going to wrap it up. So, this painting is so fascinating to me. Not that one. So, one of the things that I want to draw people's attention to is the importance of the foreground and the background. Because that's always significant in these paintings. The foreground and the background are always going to present you with a form of context to what's going on in the art. So, we have a foreground. We can see that defined by the light and the shadow. But we don't have a background. What we have is a empty void. where the floor kind of just disappears into the background. And that's what's interesting too is that when you're listening to stage 6, I would almost say that viewing the foreground disappearing into the background is one of the most important parts of this entire painting in relation to the music. The music, when you're listening to stage 6, it's like you're traveling through a void. And you hear things, but there's no definable element to anything you hear. And you just feel like that you are traveling through an endless desert, an endless room, an endless void of some sort. And this painting was very good at evoking that feeling. The feeling that you can properly define the foreground, but you can't define any walls or any background of any sort, is very important to the context of the music itself. Now, I loved the subject of the painting because there is definition to it. You can clearly understand every object in the painting, but even though you can properly define and understand each individual object that is presented in the painting, when all the objects are presented as they are as one singular piece, it doesn't have a contextual definition to it. It doesn't have, like, I would define that, like, the subject of this painting is a lack of a subject. Like, it's like as if, like, you want to believe that whatever the flat object is in this painting, you want to believe that that is the subject of the painting, but simultaneously you get a constant feeling that the object is supposed to be presenting something to you that is missing. Like, maybe, like, you want to believe that maybe there's supposed to be an image or a painting on there. Or maybe you want to believe that it's a door and it's supposed to have a handle. Or, you know, maybe it's supposed to be a piece of paper that's slowly fraying and peeling, but it's not quite there either. And then you try to define whether or not it's made of metal, or is it made of wood? Is it lined with metal and it's actually made of wood? Or maybe it is actually metal and there's a piece of wood on the front. Is that tape on the front? It looks like tape. Maybe? That was actually something I did focus a lot while I was looking at this painting in stage 6. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out if those blue lines are in fact tape. Because parts of it seem like it is tape, but then other parts don't really seem like tape. It seems maybe more like ribbon. And then if you zoom in, what's really interesting is you feel like that it's intended to look like paint. You know what I mean? So, like, we could obviously say that, well, the whole thing is paint, right? The whole thing is a painting. But I would even say that, like, this, like, the shadow and detail on the ribbons, like, especially on this corner really blew my mind in particular. This corner makes it feel like as if this tape was painted on to this board. It's almost like as if the artist wanted you to know that this isn't tape, this is a painting, you know? And you kind of have to, like, ask yourself, well, is this a painting of a painting? Or is it a painting of a board with tape on it? Or is it maybe that's not even what it's supposed to be? Maybe this is, like, a window frame. Or maybe, you know, it's supposed to be like an art frame. Like, maybe it's supposed to be a frame holding a piece of art. And there's hinges on it, which I don't understand. And that's the thing, too, is that one of my favorite things about defining this particular painting is that, like, you get the feeling that this is supposed to be attached to something, but the fact that it's so desolate and there's no objects around for miles, that it couldn't possibly be attached to anything else. I mean, you could possibly argue that you could nail it to the floor, but it seems like as if there's supposed to be a definitive object that this is supposed to be attached to. But no matter where you look, there's nothing there to attach it to. And then don't even get me started about contemplating the mystery of what's on the other side of this thing. I'm not even going to try to dive into that because, man, while listening to that music, I spent a hell of a long time trying to just barely grasp the idea of what could possibly be on the other side of this object. Like, and the thing that I love about it too is that, you know, when you're out, like, when you're this far into stage 6, you know, and you've seen all the madness with the paintings and the music, and you're in stage 6, and the music asks you to try to grasp onto something, you know? And then you see this painting, and you're like, this is like the first properly defined object out of all the paintings. I could believe that it could be a door, or a board, or a lid to something, or like anything. And it's so well defined. Like, it's a board, it's got hinges, it's got tape on it, like it's painted, you know, it's got a metal finish on the side. Like, there is a lot of definition to this piece. But no matter what, you still can't attach it to anything. You know, like, you can't really, you know, like, you could take it out of its context and put it, you know, attach it to something that you know and understand in reality. Sure. But based on the negative space in this painting, like the you know, the lack of background and the seemingly endless floor and all that, like, you can't attach this to anything that better defines it than what is right in front of your face. And that makes it, you know, spooky. It's off-putting because it's so, like, and it's like, you know, when you're at the point of the whole thing of stage 6 where you're trying to cling on to anything, and you have this object that seems so realistic and definable, but even through all the definition it has, you still can't place it into anything that provides you a sense of reality, or, you know, a definitive logic or anything like that. And that's what made it so fascinating, is just because, like, and another thing that I loved about this painting too, let me kind of zoom in here, is this stuff up here. This right here, and this over here. These weird painting edges, like the brush strokes, where you kind of ask yourself, it's like, is that a face? I want that to be a face. It's not really a face, but it almost looks like a face, and I really want to hold on to the idea that maybe there could be a face in there. Or even over here, like, it kind of looks like a face almost as well. You know, like, you want to believe that there, like, is something to be seen in these brush strokes. Like, clearly, like, this is all painted here as well, like the background and all of that. But it's all uniform. It's all, like, the foreground and the endless sea of background is all uniform, and there's no, like, randomness to it or anything like that. But then when you look at the actual, like, the main focal point of the piece here, you have all these errors and these edges and these brush strokes and these weird lines that almost seem like objects or faces, and you just want to stare at them, and you want to be able to see something. You want to know that there is something in there that you can further define in your own understanding of logic, I guess. And that is really powerful. Like, I think that's really powerful. And I love the fact that that is presented in here, you know? Like, these edges here, like, even these edges, like, you clearly are, like, Like, okay, well, like, that looks like, you know, like a paint peeling, or maybe like a wood flaw, or something. Like, you know, you want there to be something, you know? And that's, like, the beauty of this painting, is you want to see something more than what is presented right in front of you, and that's truly the beauty of it. So, I mean, I think that I've gone over this stuff pretty well. I'm 2 hours and 10 minutes in, so I'm going to catch up on the chat, and then we're going to wrap it up, okay, guys? So let me I got my chat log in here, and of course I have to update myself because I fell behind like I always do. I kind of go into my spiels. Looks like Cinder came in here. What's up, brother? What's up, Cinder? And Nita says, you are here? Well, yeah, I guess we all are, aren't we? Wrath of Woods says, the tape door stands alone. I love that. Dude, that does kind of make me think of that cheese artwork a little bit. That's crazy. That's weird. Everybody's saying hi to Cinder. Cinder's saying hi to everybody back. Bo Falcon says cinders and then turkeys. I know not for you, but hope your day is good nonetheless. There you go. Cinder Shadow says it is Bo. Thank you. How you all having a good turkey day? I am definitely having a good turkey day. I had to cancel all my plans today, but that's okay. Sometimes things go that way, but everything is fine because I'm hanging out with you guys. Okay. Let's see here. Alone but good, says Bo Falcon. Well, thanks for being here, buddy. Thanks for spending your Thanksgiving with us. This is a lot of fun. Get to hang out with all the cool peeps. Exactly, Bo Falcon. Ratherwood says that square is the strike zone for stickball. There you go. Cinder Shadow says, man, I cannot type. Just got home from working all day. You're working on Thanksgiving, dude? I'm sorry to hear that, man. My workplace is closed today. They refuse to be open on Thanksgiving. But then again, I work at a restaurant, so it might be a little different. Let's see here. Oh, okay, wait a minute. The chat log is much bigger than I thought it was. Dragon's Lair says, an unfinished door that goes nowhere. The blue tape coming undone. Framing your past memories that is indistinguishable from the rest of the blankness around you. That's really deep, man. I love you, Dragon's Lair. You're great. Ratherwood says, your senses go numb after repeating a lot. Exactly. It's true. Ratherwood also says there is blue-yellow theme on a lot of these. Absolutely. Well, I think they're really good at presenting the different contrasting colors and evoking feeling in that. Like, it's very good. King Gold says, hey, must have come back. Good to see you again, buddy. Lazarus, my poppy, says it's a window imposed where there isn't to see the dingy world hidden from view. That's another thing that was, when I was staring at this for a long time, like while listening to the music, I started trying to guess whether or not it's actually a window. You know? Like, that was something that I definitely, because, like, you could almost see that, like, the blue tape could be, like, a window frame. And there are parts of it with the flaws in the paint that make you think that you might be seeing a landscape or something. So that's something that I definitely thought about while I was going through the whole experience. Ratherwood says, I think this one's my favorite. I like this one a lot, too. I still think that the one with I think it was Stage 3 is my favorite. But I think I would be comfortable with saying that this is probably... I might have to realign how I present all the paintings. But I think I might say this is either, like, number 2 or number 3 is my favorites, for sure. Yeah, but this one's great. I do like this one a lot. It makes you think a lot. Bo Falcon says, I see this as one can't be boxed in, but standing alone is okay. We all experience solidarity, and it makes us stand strong with no need for support. I really legitimately love, like, that's the thing is, like, art is always subjective. And I always love when people can look at an art piece. And, like, you know, you can stand 3 or 4 people in front of the same art piece, you know? And they all can look at it for a prolonged period of time. And they can all walk away with a completely different experience. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that that is one of the most beautiful things about art, is the fact that every person can walk away from the same piece of art with a completely unique experience to them. And that's a powerful thing. It's a hinged door with no handle, says Anita. Yeah, it could be. I don't know. Could be anything. Ratherwood says, and through the blue square door, this where I keep my deformed vase collection. There you go. That's where all the other art pieces are being hidden. Dragon's Lair is laughing at Wrath. Rileywood says, peace out, y'all. And King Gold says, see you later. Cinder Shadow says, dude, I am Canadian. Thanksgiving was a month ago. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, buddy. My bad. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting that Canadians celebrate Thanksgiving in October. King Gold says, the last song of the 6-hour video made me cry, so the last stage. So you have, like, seen all this stuff then before, King Gold. That's really cool, man. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I really would love to be able to recommend everybody go out and give it a chance. Like, even if you have to do other things in the background, which I definitely did. Like, while I was listening to the 6 hour, 30-minute, like, music and viewing the paintings, I was also doing other things in the background. But there were times where I genuinely, like, I had to stop doing everything that I was doing in the background. And I had to stop and listen carefully to the music and look at the paintings. So the last stage says King Gold. Yep, absolutely. Fajuk says, you still live? Absolutely, but we're wrapping it up here, buddy. Bofalga says, yes, Fajuk, we're almost done. Dragon's Air Gaming says, Hobbs is just finishing up. Absolutely, guys. So I'm going to wrap it up here. I had a really great time, like, experiencing this as well as sharing it with you guys. I really hope that you guys can have the time to experience it on your own. It's very amazing. For anybody who is unsure, I will bring up the YouTube channel again that I viewed all this on. So let me kind of give me just a hot moment here so I can change the capture so you guys can see it. Oh, that's right. That's a pain in the butt, huh? Okay. There it is. So this is the YouTube channel in which I watched it. It's the first one, the one right here that's, well, it looks like it's down here, actually. It's 6 hours, 30 minutes long, and I highly recommend you guys try and give it a chance if you can. I can understand if you can't make it through. It's very, it's an experience, and it gets very hard at some points to get through it, so, but I highly recommend it. It's a major artistic experience that I just wanted to share with you guys. So, anyways, thank you guys all so much for being out here. I had a great time. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I want to, once again, one last time, give a special shout-out thanks to my Patreon members, which is Bo Falcon and Mr. Lettuce. If you want to be a part of my Patreon, support what I do, please join up, and it doesn't matter how much money you want to donate. I will try to be more regular about giving shout-outs to my Patreon members, because I genuinely appreciate you guys, and I want to make sure that you guys know that I appreciate you. So I'll try and give shout-outs more often. Other than that, go ahead and check in the description below for all of my links and my fan mail and things like that. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, do all that good stuff, because it always looks lovely in the eyes of YouTube, and for me as well, because I love it. And the other thing I always like to say, which is, guys, no matter where you are in this world, no matter what kind of experiences you have, follow your dreams, okay, guys? Happy Thanksgiving. Have a great night.